little bit less than we normally get. It's usually about a third of the people in the room. It's their first time. We do say pull on in from the door because people keep coming in the whole morning. There are tables, there are chairs, you know. Please, people sit on the tables. As we get going, I mean, you can see Ruben, he doesn't hesitate. So please just fill in. See a chair up front, there's another chair over there. I'm Danielle Whitelock with the Tampa Bay Innovation Center. I am one of the organizers for 1 Million Cups. It is a community event and it is led by community organizers. Sean Kennedy is with St. Peter's Greenhouse, which is a lovely building that we're in each week, and it's a city chamber initiative. John Morrow is over here. He's with USF St. Petersburg, Entrepreneur in Residence, Man About Town. And Ruben Pressman, other Man About Town, entrepreneur, go-getter, and he's raising money for free ice cream on March 2nd. So talk to him about that. And I want to welcome Mayor Kreisman, who joins us here today. So thank you for your And it's pretty simple here today. If you haven't been, it is 2 6-minute presentations from early stage companies. They tell you about their company, 20 minutes of Q&A. The initiative behind 1 Million Cups is what can the community do to further entrepreneurs and further small businesses. And along those lines, our lovely coffee provider is Cala, and they provide us free coffee each week. And we really enjoy this coffee. So if you're out there wanting to support our small businesses, they have several locations in downtown St. Petersburg where they started, and they're also in Tampa as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian McGeary with BusyCon. Brian comes to us out of the DC area, and he is with one of our other 1 Million Cups communities. There are 25 communities throughout the U.S. that do 1 Million Cups at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. And when you've presented here, then you can go on and present in any of the other communities, and Brian is here with us today. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. As Daniel mentioned, I'm here, to present 1 Million Cups. I'm a co-organizer up in Northern Virginia, Loudoun County, outside DC, of the 1 Million Cups venue there. Another reason I'm actually here is because I'm contemplating moving my business and my family down to the area. You all are part of me making that decision, so the onus is on you. The livelihoods of my children are in your hands.
That's why we brought the mayor.
So, whether you're a novice or an experienced event planning professional, conference and convention planning is an utter nightmare. And BusyConf is the only platform with its unique set of workflows that makes conference planning easy. So let's imagine you need to organize a speaker conference, right? You have a lot on your plate. You need to manage the speakers. You need to coordinate and cooperate amongst your review committee. You need to publish a schedule that your attendees can do while they're at the event. And you need to handle all the finances from ticket management through discount codes, through bank deposits. And normally this is handled with disjunct emails and offline spreadsheets. Almost none of it is in one location. And to top it off, the responsible party is usually made up of volunteers with little expertise, but more importantly, little time. So BusyConf gives you the tools to publish a call for proposals. We automatically build you a mobile schedule for your attendees to view. We also handle the ticket registration and payments for you. And it's on the BusyConf roof. And at the end of the day, we actually cut you a check for this ticket payments. And so BusyConf makes your event a success, and it makes conference planning easy. A prototype for BusyConf was built late 2010. I normally do software consulting. Even though BusyConf is my 7th business, I didn't spend much time on it after this prototype was built, even though we kind of saw a room in the market. In 2013, I went full-time with it. We're revenue generating. We've run through 150 conferences so far, 25,000 attendees, and $1.6 million in ticket sales. We're still working on a true public launch, but we've been doing it all by invitation only. So one of the things that we ask 1 Million Cups presenters to bring to the meeting are challenges, right? I've got a ton of them. This is just 5 minutes of me just brainstorming. If you dive into just one of these, it looks something like this, right? So this is what goes through my head. I think it goes through a lot of entrepreneurs' heads. Either that or I'm schizophrenic. But I won't ask you to solve all my problems today, but we'll dive into a specific one later. So I talked about the problems with conference planning, right? It's difficult, it's tricky, there's lots of people involved, and collaboration is a nightmare. BusyConf is that solution. We do speaker proposal forms, rating review scheduling, attendee payment pages, and we have an HTML5 offline enabled mobile schedule. So I'm going to quickly give you a demo. That demo. So this is the BusyConf backend. I'm logged in as an organizer. I can set up event details. I can open up my call for proposals with a few settings. Once you do that, we automatically publish you a form that looks like this. This one's already been somewhat themed. It's all the right questions that you need to ask as an organizer to find great speakers for your event. We've already defined them all. You can add custom fields, but we've narrowed it down to the core things that you might forget to ask if you were to do this yourself. Once you submit a proposal, we give the speaker an opportunity to kind of see their review and also to comment and communicate with the back-end organizers. Once it's been submitted, it shows up on the proposal list for rating amongst reviewers and organizers. Once you've accepted a talk on the back end after you've rated it, we automatically publish it onto a mobile schedule. This is the desktop version of the dummy schedule. You can drive into, attendees get to see a really great experience in terms of what's going on in the event. You have multiple tracks, multiple days. It's all one page. It's all offline enabled, meaning whose internet connection still works while you're at the event, which is a common problem. We also do, I should probably show you. We also have different formats for mobile as well. So that's an iOS version that you can drive into. And it's all the same data. It's all automatically published the same way. So we also do ticket registration. This is very similar to Eventbrite. In fact, Eventbrite's a competitor of ours in this aspect. So if you fill in tickets. So you buy tickets in seconds. In fact, we're heavily optimized for ticket sales through conference planning, through conferences in general. 50% of all tickets are purchased in a group or by someone other than the ticket holder. We're one of the only platforms that optimizes for that. So that's the quick run through of the demo. Let me jump back to the presentation. So we've had some good client successes. We've done Business Horizon. We've done the National Veteran Small Business Conference in DC, which is a pretty large one. We've done a lot of tech conferences because that's my bread and butter. We've had some great testimonials too. So we have organizers who are saying great things. We have attendees who are praising the fact that they gave us their credit card and it was such a great experience, which is awesome. The market's it's actually quite large depending on what kind of numbers you go after. If you're talking about the US market, it's a $250 billion industry, just event management in general. If you go worldwide, it gets much bigger. Our revenue model, we have 3 different ways. The main one is a percentage of ticket sales, very much like Eventbrite. We also have a per attendee fee if you don't use our ticket registration. And something we're experimenting with is a revenue share for a sponsorship slot on that mobile schedule. This is an example prospect, just a random selection. They do proposals via email. They have no online ticket registration. They literally take checks. And these are the kind of prime targets that we're going after, the small to medium-sized conference organizers who need help. So how can you help? So I narrowed those challenges down to 4 roughly, depending on what your expertise is. Number 1 for me though is I need sales help. I am so lost trying to sell the product in terms of actually doing it and also dealing with the product and the technology and development on the back end. Part of that is that I'm a solo entrepreneur. I have part-time help. I don't have any other full-time. I'm the only full-time person. Funding is more of a question mark, right? It's bootstrapped. It's always on the table. I'm competing against some really large players. Business partners down here, just because I'm always looking for a good leader, especially on an event management space, who's interested, willing to work with a startup. And if none of those things you think you can help me, please spread the word. That's really what I'm here for, right? If you know conference planners, event organizers, event planners, tell them about BusyConf, put them in touch with me. I'd be glad to talk to them and give them a demo. So that's BusyConf, conference planning meetings. Thank you.
First off, really neat idea. I definitely see you filling a void in the marketplace. I can see this being very, very successful software as a service. You said that your pricing model was 3% of the gross take. Does that include processing fees, or is that after? Okay,
so the question is, does the 3% include the credit card processing fees? And no, it doesn't. So roughly 3% goes to the credit card companies. You're going to lose that on your ticket sales regardless.
Right.
And then 3% goes towards BusyConf.
Okay.
And actually, part of the revenue model is actually, as we do volume, we can actually drive that percentage down on the credit card fees. We do pass some of those on to the organizers if they have a large event. But yeah, it's 3% on top of the credit card fees.
And would the conference organizer be able to choose the merchant processor of choice, or is that something BusyConf?
So the question is, can the organizer choose their own merchant processor? And the short answer is no. The long answer is we don't want them to, because we want the experience for the attendees to be perfect. Payment gateways and payment processors they vary drastically on performance and reliability and everything else. They actually like getting reports out. And we want to make sure that the attendees are getting a fast checkout process without waiting, without having errors, and something that we know we can control and report on accurately. So that's the longer answer. Back here?
So, you mentioned that one of your, competitors would be someone like Eventbrite, or, probably another one, Gap or something. I'm curious, what would you see as your main competitive advantage compared to those other players in that space? Would it be the processing of the credit cards? Would it be how you explain information? Like, what do you think is your main claim to fame, I guess?
Yeah, so, we compete with Eventbrite on the one module that we have. The differentiator with Eventbrite is that we do all the other conference planning and we keep everything under one roof so that all your collaborators that are running this event with you can pick up where someone else might have left off. Excuse me. So not only do you have your ticket registration there, but you have all your attendees, your speakers, and the proposals. Everything's under one roof, and your other collaborators, right? So that's the differentiator with Eventbrite. With regards to optimizations, Eventbrite's probably one of, in terms of, I named as a competitor because they're the best at what they do, right? In terms of conversion and optimizing, there's a lot of competitors that don't optimize for that. We think we've actually optimized more for the conference planner, who might be selling multiple ticket types for workshops or multiple ticket tiers and prices. Eventbrite does some of that, but they don't actually make it easy if you have multiple ticket types and multiple ticket price tiers, and I see a head nodding, which is good to see. So that's one differentiator. There's other competitors, there's big players like Cvent, there's also Reg Online. And our differentiator there is that we're just much easier to use. We have no setup fee to get started. Cvent usually puts you under a contractual agreement. Reg Online, they have a really strong sales force. That's actually who I really consider my direct competitor right now, the big challenge. They're much bigger, big sales force. We won a few organizers away from them, but they're sucking them up pretty quick too. So it's a tricky market.
How does this interact with your current CRM system, or does it become your CRM system?
So questions about CRM. So it is not really your CRM system yet, right? And we don't really want to be a full CRM system, but some of the things we're planning on building include the ability to communicate with your attendees through the application itself more freely. So if someone replies to a receipt, it automatically logs it inside of BusyConf, so anyone on the team can know without having to track emails that we promised this person a 10% discount but he didn't get it. Or if we communicate with speakers, we're going to digest the emails and feed it into there to kind of make it a little bit like that, but we're also going to work on synchronizing with real CRMs, right? Because we're never going to be a full-featured CRM that the sales team's going to want to use or the marketing team's going to want to use. And so the other thing we're planning to build out is synchronization, real-time synchronization with Salesforce or any other CRM that you might use in there. So that answers that one.
It's probably an important thing to do sooner than later.
Okay. Yeah.
So you mentioned looking for sales help.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready for a salesperson who would be interested in this sector to, really hit the ground running and land some big fish in this for you, or would that overwhelm your company?
So the question is, am I ready for sales help? Big sales help. The concern you bring up in terms of would it really slam the company if it really came fast? I think I am, right? Now, to know for sure is going to be a tricky thing to answer until it actually happens. I hired a sales coach over the past few months to teach me how to sell. It's actually been quite useful. The premise being that if I don't know how to sell, I can't have someone else sell for me. And it really was. It was expensive, but it was one of those things that actually paid for itself. We landed some big deals. The sales coach actually shadowed my calls, listened to my recordings, gave me advice. I went from getting C- on my calls to getting A-, which I'll take as a tech guy. So yeah, to answer your question, I think so, yes.
Are you ready to make a salesperson an appropriate compensation offer to get into that seat?
So am I ready to compensate them handsomely? Commission, yes. And I know that's a tricky thing, right? I don't have, I
You
just
said
don't
you
have,
had like, what, 1.6 million, so you get less than $50,000 of revenue?
for that portion of it. Now, the other two mechanisms for revenue are also in play, but yeah, like, so the revenue's low. The other big challenge is that this industry suffers from a slow ramp of death sort of growth curve. And it's one of these things where if you talk to other founders of similar industries, it took them 5 years to actually start to grow. It's a tricky market, it's a long sales cycle, right? You have to get them at the right time very early on. And, you're pulling people away from other platforms, other solutions. So it's a tricky thing, at least that I found, and I'm sure someone else will do it much better than I am. If you know someone who's interested, and especially who's in the event management space, I would love to talk to them.
Does the platform allow for a printed version of the conferences?
Does it allow for printed versions for the schedule? So we have all the data, we have an API that you can expose out. We have done paper schedules for people, but right now we've just been testing it. We haven't built out a full auto-publishing to PDF because it's actually quite tricky to take the same format that we have digitally and fit it on paper automatically. And so the way we've done it for conferences now is I literally, or someone else literally pieces it together from the data, and we're using that as a lean way of testing whether or not this paper version matters. And lately it hasn't. Early on a lot of people were asking for it, and no one's really asking for it anymore, so I'm hesitant to build it out, although I do think it would be a useful thing to send a PDF, send a Kinko's, have the schedule delivered at the last minute when the schedule's kind of more solidified.
You
Sorry, we'll go here first.
You mentioned the iOS tool. Is that available to start as soon as the conference registration goes out there? And does it allow for people to interact through social media on it as well?
So the question is the iOS tool ready as soon as registration's out? It depends on whether the organizers have already got all the data through. So whether they've accepted speakers and put them on the schedule. If they have, yes, it's available.
Okay.
Does it interact with social media? Not directly. And I am kind of adamant about not doing that for now because so many conference organizers try to do that, and they end up building mediocre, if not poor, implementations of Twitter clients or Facebook clients when attendees just want to use their standard client, right? So whether that be Tweet on iPhone, Twitter client on iPhone, or whatever's on Android.
Yep. Do you have one for Android also?
So
Formats?
because it's HTML5, it's all web-based.
Yeah.
It works on every platform.
Okay.
It works on Android, iOS, Windows Mobile, exactly.
Can you talk about your revenue targets and how that compares to some of the industry players?
Well, in terms of industry players, right? I mean, I don't have revenue numbers for something like Cvent, right? I know they're $1 billion market cap. They just went public. I don't know Red Online either. Our revenue target. So my goal over the next, we'll say 12 months, is to kind of get this such that it's sustainable. So when I say sustainable, I mean we're already covering our operating costs, right? We're not covering my costs. And so I want to get this over the next year to cover my cost plus some to bring someone else on, right? So that's my next goal. So that's gonna be at 6 figures for the next 12 months. Follow on to that, I'd like to see it, hit 7 figures so that I can start growing the team. So that's the rough plans over the next few years, without going into too much detail. Yes.
So you said yourself, this is a very competitive market. There's all kinds of players out there, big and small. What would you say whether it's your favorite feature or something that you guys do that no one else is doing right now that kind of sets you apart?
So the weird part is it's actually the easiest part for us to build was the whole proposal management side. Dealing with speaker proposals is something that people either do off with Wufoo or Google Forms or whatever else. And that's the one feature that we keep winning business away from Cvent because they don't have a tool. Neither does Red Online. Red Online sort of has a surveying mechanism that they will kind of bastardize for proposals. But that's not actually my favorite feature though, but that is the one that wins in terms of the sale. The schedule was where we started. That was the first prototype. It's actually quite complicated on the back and make everything render, so that's my favorite feature. And people like it too, attendees like it, but it's harder to sell to the organizers because organizers actually want a lot of the whiz-bang features on their schedule, even though their attendees don't want it. So we've interviewed a lot of attendees to kind of see what they really want. And key part of that is not downloading an app for 3 days to delete later. So, yeah.
How did you go about finding, what's your main way of finding your prospects? So I think a lot of times, by the time someone other event if they've already sealed the deal, and a planner? So how would you,
You touched on one of the toughest parts that, the challenges we have.
and then looking back at history, I guess,
Yeah,
and
so-
seeing what events have occurred.
Yeah, so the question is, how do we find prospects and leads? And you're right, we hit events that have, a lot of events occur annually, they occur around the same time. So we scrape a lot of conference listing sites, right? We pull back all the contact information, so that's where a lot of our cold leads come from. Something we're experimenting with is finding people who are on Twitter and they've used the phrase "save the date" with the word conference, without the word press, and without the word call, right? And it's like 95% ratio of people who are announcing their event, save the date. They haven't done anything yet. They haven't even launched their website yet. Just save the date because you're going to want to come to this. And we've experimented with that. How we convert those into leads, like real leads, is the tricky part, right? Do we just go after the conference and do it the traditional way, or do we engage with them in social media and try to get things going that way? We've engaged before. It's a low return, which is expected, but it does turn into some good leads. So that's a couple of things we're playing with.
And there's one other question about it. So I'm not sure if you do this on a local basis in DC or if you're national, and if you say you did come across a company, at a distance, are you able to go walk them through what you're capable of, online, or are you able to, do you actually physically do that?
So the question is, do we need to focus on the DC market, or are we wider than that? The short answer is we have conferences in India going on right now. So we've gone worldwide, which is awesome. In fact, one of the other challenges is that we have a lot of interest from overseas. More interest from overseas than in the United States, and I don't know if it's just because it's a larger market, or they are more willing to find a solution to a problem as opposed to build something in-house or to go with traditional sales. But it's a challenge because our main revenue model, the percentage of ticket sales, we only do US dollars right now. So it actually is a big hiccup in the sales cycle. And that's why the split revenue sponsorship model came about in terms of options for revenue. Does that answer the question? Back to that.
So I go to these things as often as I can, and Morrow and Sean, maybe you guys can chime in here. There was a guy like 3 or 4 weeks ago that has his electric car magazine guy from St. Petersburg.
He's here.
Where is he? Aren't you the lead for him? Don't you want to use his stuff? Don't you want to do a conference in the next
Absolutely, yeah.
8 months?
Yeah,
Maybe you guys should talk.
He wins for best.
I just got it. So starting from when you came to the concept to now, what would you say your biggest assumption you had about the market or the product or anything that you've now invalidated and kind of shifted what you thought to begin with?
The biggest assumption is that it would be easier to sell, right? It's that the sales, I didn't assume the sales cycle would be so long, right? And that I would be dealing with such large committees who are making decisions. And I anticipated this being more self-service model and less, direct sales. Does that answer the question in terms of what? Yeah.
How does your platform integrate with the hotel reservation system?
Okay, we don't. So the question is, do we integrate with hotel reservation systems? And we don't right now. Maybe later. It's one of those things that some people have asked for, but I'm hesitant to go down that route just yet because it's messy.
Is your strategy, your pricing model, that sort of thing, are you optimizing for revenue growth or rapid growth of number of users?
So I'm not one. So the question is, am I optimizing for user growth or revenue growth? I don't give much credence to just the general user-based, numbers or the number of events in the system. I'm more interested in revenue. So I'd be happy to do fewer conferences with fewer people that are higher dollar, right? If that helps us get to the next stage. Does that answer?
What's the thing you're looking forward to the most looking into this or providing as customer value? Like the top thing you just really want to put in there?
So the thing I'm most looking forward to building, like product-wise. So now that this is, what I consider this product almost our MVP, right? Our minimal viable product, even though we're selling it. And organizers are using it for the production system. Internally, I have things that are like Like, I've seen people use it, and I realize now what really needs to be built that no one has touched on, that will make their lives easier, even things that people aren't asking for, but I just watch the patterns of what they're doing. Part of that is really improving on the rating and review process of the proposal workflow in the back end. I want this to be drag and drop, throw things around, tag people, and allow reviewers to be assigned to tags and proposals to be assigned to tags, so that you're rating only a subset, especially for conferences that have 800 to 1,000 proposals instead of daunting. Similar for the scheduling side of things, I think there's improvements to be made there. Ticketing, we're pretty solid on. It hasn't changed much since we've gone there. There's some things I would like to do with it for upsell and revenue, but mostly the enhancing the proposal and enhancing the scheduling.
Well, you already asked or answered how we can help you grow your business. How can we as a community